In a queer land, a man's pride does not end with his own life. It walks ahead of him in the form of a son. From time immemorial, tradition decreed that a father's wealth must pass directly to his first son. Land, yam barns, ancestral houses, and even the family name followed the male line. A man without a son was considered a visitor in his own compound, one whose labor might someday nourish another man's lineage. This belief shaped Humphrey from childhood. He was the first son of his late father, and for years he wore that position like a crown. But when his younger brother, Uche, grew into a strong, respected man, something sour took root in Humphrey's heart. He feared displacement, not because it had happened, but because tradition had trained him to see inheritance as a battlefield. Humphrey married Esther shortly after completing secondary school in 1984. He was young, hopeful, and eager to secure his future. When Esther conceived not long after the wedding, Humphrey's joy knew no bounds. He warned her against sweeping, farming, or lifting heavy objects. He fetched water himself and insisted she rest, believing that the child in her womb would carry his legacy forward. When the day of delivery arrived, Humphrey waited impatiently outside the maternity room. The cry of a newborn pierced the air, and he rushed to the midwife. "What is it?" he asked, breathless. "A baby girl," the midwife replied. The words landed softly, but their weight was crushing. Humphrey forced a smile, picked up his bag, and thanked the midwife, but his eyes betrayed him. The midwife noticed it, the flicker of disappointment that passed through his face like a shadow over sunlight. He named the child and returned home, pretending happiness. But deep inside, something had cracked. 5 years passed. Esther gave birth again and again. By then, Humphrey had 3 daughters. Each birth widened the distance between him and his wife. What once was affection turned to silence, then to bitterness. "You cannot give me a son," he spat one evening, his voice thick with anger. "You lack male eggs," he added cruelly, ignorant of biology, but certain of blame. Esther wept quietly. She bore the insults like a woman carrying a pot too heavy to drop. Then came the year 1990. Uche married a woman named Lovett, a gentle soul with laughter that softened rooms. That same year, Lovett gave birth to twin boys. Twin boys. When the news reached Humphrey, it struck him like thunder. He felt as though the earth beneath his feet had shifted. In his mind, he saw his late father's wealth slipping from his grasp, flowing instead into Uche's compound, multiplied through twin sons. He stopped sleeping. His appetite vanished. His body thinned until his ribs showed like broken fences. Neighbors whispered that Humphrey was drying up like an oho tree under the merciless October sun. Uche and Lovett named the twins Light and Life, unaware that their joy had become Humphrey's torment. A year later, Esther finally gave birth to a son. They named him Amici. But when Humphrey looked at the boy, there was no joy, only emptiness. In his heart, Amici had arrived too late, like rain after a harvest had already failed. 4 years passed. By then, Light and Life were pupils in primary school, bright, playful, and loved by all. They returned home every afternoon, dropped their school bags, ate, and ran out to play. That was when the darkness in Humphrey's heart hardened into resolve. Now that I have a son, he thought, nothing must stand in his way. On a quiet Wednesday afternoon, Light and Life returned from school. Their mother had cooked before going to the farm with Uche. They ate eagerly, laughing over stories from school. Moments later, they collapsed. Foam bubbled from their mouths as their bodies stiffened on the kitchen floor. It was their friend Stanley who found them. He had come to call them to the village square. When he saw their bodies, he screamed. The village erupted in chaos. 2 men were sent to bring Uche and Lovett home, without telling them the truth. When Lovett entered the house and saw her sons, something in her mind shattered. She screamed once, long and piercing, then fell into madness. Uche stood frozen, tears circling his eyes but refusing to fall. Humphrey stood behind him, wailing loudly. Uche turned and embraced him, seeking comfort from the very man who had destroyed his world. The elders knew the land had been polluted. After the burial, Lovett had to be restrained with chains as her grief consumed her reason. On Kuali, the sacred day, the priest of Agborali was summoned. He demanded the truth. Silence answered him. 2 cold days passed. No confession came. When the priest returned, he cast the lot. It fell on Humphrey. The spirit seized him. His legs buckled. His mouth opened, and truth poured out like blood from a wound. He confessed everything. The village erupted. The king banished Humphrey and his family. All his property was handed to Uche. Humphrey left the land with nothing except shame. 2 years later, as Lovett slowly healed, she gave birth again. Twin boys. And this time, joy returned.